Hey guys, Dozer here. I just wanted to direct your attention real quick to the Flesh and Blood TCG website. We head over to articles, and we go to the banned and restricted announcement page. We see something that makes me very happy to see. Banned and restricted announcement, September 21st, James White. Over the course of the Road to National season and reaffirmed by the results of the Calling Las Vegas chain, Bound by Shadow has clearly emerged as the best performing hero in Classic Constructed. Yes, he has. As demonstrated by Tyler Horspool, who won the Calling Las Vegas with his innovative Prism Control deck, Chain can be beaten, and in fact Tyler beat Chain 7 times on his way to lifting the winner's trophy. Saying that, we believe Chain's current power level is oppressive to the viability of other aggressive decks, and to be frank, has consistent play patterns that are proving unfun to play against and spectate. James White, you are 100% correct. We believe that removing Seeds of Agony from the Classic Constructed format will be positive for the tournament experience, while not eliminating Chain's viability as a player in the metagame. Chain will have to work harder to enable his current game plan, allowing for other aggressive decks to compete, which we believe supports a more positive game experience. Unhallowed Rites is another card that we are watching closely. The ability to recur Howl from Beyond multiple times over the course of a game is an engine that enables Chain to repetitively output damage above the normal cost matrix. Unhallowed Rites is on the Classic Constructed watch list. The last Blitz season was Skirmish Season 2, that ran soon after the release of Monarch, and during that season Chain was the second best performing hero. It was a period of time when Chain was new and the best build deck was still being refined by players around the world. Since then, players have mastered Chain and refined the deck. With Skirmish Season 3 starting in November, we believe that removing Seeds of Agony from the Blitz format will support a more positive player experience. Seeds of Agony is banned in all colors, red, yellow, and blue, in both Classic Constructed and Blitz. So he goes on to explain here, why they did it now, why they waited, why Seeds specifically was the target of the ban hammer, and why Living Legends was not the reason that they, or not the way and the method of which they banned anything. And they go on to preemptively ban Duskblade as well, citing the fact that it did not go through proper testing, and so they're going to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. And they talk about how in the future, banned cards could be removed from the ban list as the format develops. So what I want to talk about here, and you can read this right now if you want, and pause it, whatever. What I wanted to talk about is that we just talked about how Channel Lake Frigid is looking to be a very pushed card with its very high ceiling of value, its inability to, or rather its lack of reliance on your own synergy to get you that value, as well as the lack of counterplay the other player has in order to remove it. Now, Duskblade is a perfect example of this. So Duskblade, you had no way to stop the opponent from gaining counters through your own actions. It's basically, if your opponent could play the attack and the non-attack, they'd keep the tokens, and it was very easy for them to swing with this, and getting up to insane amounts of counters over the course of the game. So Duskblade already had that same type of really crazy value that was really hard to stop. I wouldn't be surprised to see Channel Lake Frigid being put on this new Classic Constructed watch list. After all, the same argument would hold true, right? The same argument holds true that they want to make sure that they are not creating cards and promoting cards which allow all this crazy long-term value to be made. And so what I'm mainly happy about with this whole situation is the fact that we are going to be able to see cards in the future get banned without relying on Living Legends. The reason that's so important is that in any card game, they're very, all card games are complex. They're all full of moving parts that are very hard to quantify the power of. And if you have a game where no cards can get banned, you put yourself into a situation where if you break the format of your game and you're refusing to quickly address that, you're going to kill the competitive scene. You know, how many months of chain meta do you want to play? Right? I mean, how many months of chain best deck do you want to play? Of seeds, Riftbind, Help from Beyond, you know, whatever. Eventually, any format will get stale to people, especially if one deck becomes so dominant that no amount of innovation or new decks coming out can reliably make those decks any less prevalent in the meta. You know, um, if the meta becomes how do you beat Chain rather than how does my deck fare against all the other decks, it takes a lot of the interesting decision making and deck building out, as well as making every match that you watch very, very stale. So the fact that they're banning seeds, which again is common, which is it was an automatic 9 of in every chain deck because it was so good, means that we will be able to get so many more good formats out of this game without having to rely on Living Legends. And the reason Living Legends isn't going to be the one way they balance the game, and I agree with this, that James White said, is that Living Legends is supposed to be a way to honor characters that perform well over the course of the game and retire them after they've had their time in the sun. Not to be the only way to clean up a mess of a meta. And with Seeds of Agony gone, Chain will actually have to pay costs for a lot of his cards. He won't be able to get free damage off of his Rift Binds on these crazy huge turns, and so he's going to be much more in line with other characters and other strategies without having to ban anything like Husk, without having to ban anything like his other more key cards like Riftbind. So going forward, I'm also extremely happy to see them they ban Duskblade preemptively. It just tells me that they have their ear to the ground. They know what's going on in the game. They are taking proactive steps to make sure that our formats are not going to be ruined in the future. And they also, I believe, gave an announcement. Yes, right here. The next ban and restricted announcement will be on December 14th. Now, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At a slightly competitive level, and they had a very similar ban list system where they would announce a date for the ban list announcement, and you would be able to know for the next X months, your cards would be able to be played, and that would help keep the secondary market stable. So that everyone doesn't think the sky's falling, everyone's selling all their cards, everyone's, dropping all the prices to the floor. It helps you have time to enjoy the deck, because I believe this lets chain, or not necessarily chain, but this lets all the cards that you have be available to you until after Nationals. And then after Nationals, they'll reevaluate the game, and we can go into a new format for the new year. This is a great system. I'm very happy to know that they are also being very measured with this. They didn't ban Seeds immediately. They didn't ban Chain himself immediately. They let Chain rule the format, for all of Monarch meta. Have the calling Las Vegas to really shine. And then once they saw that Chain had indeed become this unstoppable force that was just dominating the format, to the point where the only person who beat him in the calling at the final, in the final games was a guy who teched his deck entirely to beat Chain, and it was still very close. That just means that they are taking a nice measured and very calculated approach, and they're not going to be too hasty. They're not going to just listen to the community crying out like, oh no, this is OP, ban this, ban this, ban this. They're going to say, look, we hear you. We see that there are problems in the meta. We are monitoring it closely, and we will address it in due time, which is great. We're going to be able to have faith in LSS going forward, that if problem cards arise, they will address it. And so I'm just beyond happy. Channel Lake Frigid, again, I think was going to be one of the most powerful cards in the set, to the point where it could create very unfun situations, just like how we mentioned how um, Chain was providing an unfun play pattern. And I think Oldheim and Lexi with access to these ice cards is going to be very similar. Especially Channel Lake Frigid as an unfun play pattern to play against. And we'll see if anything else follows that same pattern. So just want to make a quick video talking about the new ban list situation, the new banned cards, the new system that we seem to be going into, as well as express my appreciation and gratitude towards LSS for being proactive, being willing to adapt, and being willing to take a risk, honestly, with this ban list announcement. Because one of the big things that LSS really tried to pride themselves on was whether or not they would ever ban cards and make people's investments in the game feel invalidated. But the difference is they banned a common. They banned a common that is good, but not 100% mandatory to make the deck good. And they are willing to unban things as well. They're willing to have a very agile and adaptive approach to game balance. And so I think we can all rest assured that LSS knows what they're doing. They have our best interests at heart, and we'll be able to have a healthy meta after we've endured enough of the new cards and given them time to be figured out naturally. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys as always, and looking forward to some more gameplay soon. Got some Lexi builds cooking up, got some Oldheim builds cooking up, moving on to Briar sometime soon, and definitely got Prism still as our main girl, and we will see how Prism can adapt in the new meta with no Chain Seeds plays. So take it easy, and I'll catch you next video. Peace.